So you want to get jacked, huh? You want to get all the girls on the beach. You want to look in the mirror and say, "What's up, big sexy?" and mean it every single day? Well, you've come to the right spot. So what's actually hilarious is working out will obviously help improve your attractiveness, but in terms of the attention from girls, maybe it goes up a little bit, but a lot of it goes to the guys. A lot of guys end up giving you attention on Instagram when you start posting. It's really, really funny. If you've seen those memes, it's literally the truth. People start asking you fitness advice. They want to prop you. It's more of a bro thing. It really, really is. But that shouldn't stop you at all from making this a huge priority for your life. If you aren't already in peak performance, below 13-14% body fat, can run a half marathon, run 10 kilometers. Like, if you can do these things, you're already ahead of the majority of people who aren't willing to put in the work. So my story with fitness is I used to have, my thing back when I was like a teenager was like video games, and I still love playing sports. So there was never really a point in time where I was either like overweight or like out of shape. I always loved playing sports. It was something that just brought me joy. But my unhealthy side was I played a ton of video games, like an insane amount of video games. I can't believe I got away playing that many video games. But it wasn't until I was about 18 where sports became like less of a priority in high school, and like I like going out, partying, and doing all sorts of damage to my body. But I struggled with like self-esteem, and I struggled with like confidence. And I had a friend in grade 11, and he went through this transformation, shout out Gage, where he was like 220 pounds, forgive me if I'm off a few pounds, but he lost like 70 pounds in the span of a year. So he was known as like the bigger guy, and then he like lost a ton of weight and got in really great shape. And then the next year in high school, he ended up putting 30 pounds, 40 pounds of muscle. So he was like the biggest guy in our school for sure. So my hobbies were sports, but that kind of went down a little bit. I was still playing video games. I'd still go out, get in sorts of, trouble, how that works. But one time I'm like, Gage, I want to, you had an incredible transformation. I want to start working out with you. And at this point, I was just like a skinny, fit kid, right? Like, didn't have too much muscle, but I wasn't skinny because I played a lot of sports, but I didn't ever work out. That was not a big thing for me. But when we went to high school together, he started lifting together maybe once or twice a week, and then we went up to 3 times a week, and I fell in love. Like, there was a point where 3, 4, 5 days a week, we'd go to the gym together every day, like ultimate gym buddy experience, and we started bringing peanuts in the classes. This was before you could get away with that. Now there's too many nut allergies. We'd literally be in English class like crushing up peanuts in class, and everybody in the class would just look at us and they'd just like scoff like these gym bros. We both wanted to get, not matching, but we both wear like sweats and like tracksuits sometimes to school. It was terrible. It was terrible. But that was, I was rocking like a nasty mullet at the time too. Like, my hair's curly, right? So I had this, it was epic. Epic and terrible at the same time, if you catch my drift. So I started working out with Gage, and I started putting on muscle, right? And I actually just fell in love with, I didn't put on this is what you have to understand, right? I have pretty good genetics, but when it comes to lifting, you shouldn't be expecting too many results in your first 3 months. If you do get results and you pack on muscle, great, double down on that. But if you don't, you have to give yourself at least 90 days of being consistent, diet, training, all of that, training correctly. And back in the day, our form was probably abysmal. Looking back, like I could bench, somehow I was benching more back then than I was now, which is just kind of hilarious because I probably was doing terrible technique and form, not full reps, all that stuff. But getting 2 plates in university, which I'm struggling to do that now, is hilarious. But what that did for me is opened up a world of pain, progress, and discipline. I wasn't a very disciplined kid at all, right? I was working at McDonald's, and there was aspects where I could be super disciplined. Like, I go on these like extremes where I won't drink alcohol. Like, I just came off of not drinking alcohol for 8 months, and I've done like a year without alcohol for like two different years before that. Certain substances I will just completely avoid. certain foods. So I worked at McDonald's, get this, and I heard the fries were bad for you, seed oils, all that stuff. I didn't know what those were back then. But I stopped eating French fries for 2 years working at McDonald's. I never touched a French fry. I'd back them in. I'd get a McChicken. I'd get all these things. It was weird. I just wouldn't touch the French fries. And so what the gym taught me is to actually care about what I'm putting in my body. Except in that time, I didn't know any better. I was crushing 2 scoops of pre-workout after school. So at 4 p.m. I'm doing that as an 18-year-old. And I'm looking back now wondering why I had sleeping issues and why I was tired all the time. It's because I couldn't sleep, Even now, I can't have coffee after 1 or 2 p.m. because it's going to keep me up. But getting back to the working outside and the focus and the discipline, is that taught me so much about life, because by doing something hard consistently, the end fruit of that is not just the how you look and building muscle and building strength and that progression, but also the feeling of finishing a workout. For example, I just got back from working out legs with my brother, and I'm a little bit tired because we went pretty hard, but I'm also just feeling I already won the day, so to speak. So there's something about the pump. If you watch that Arnold documentary, it's just you get obsessed with it. And a lot of people ask me, Missouri, how do you stay consistent? I've been working out pretty much for 10 years now, a decade, consistently, never let go of myself throughout that period. And to be honest, my physique hasn't changed a whole lot over the last 3-4 years. I haven't got that much bigger. Maybe I've gotten a little bit more toned, or the more I learn about the body, the more I can implement this. But the big thing is how it makes me feel. I know that if I don't go to the gym for a week, the rest of my life kind of sucks. I know it depletes. And that's because the body and the mind are very interconnected. And so back in the day, working out was more of an escape, therapeutic release for me, where I had a lot of pent up emotion, a really unhealthy kid emotionally, didn't know how to vent or have healthy releases for that, so I just kind of sheltered in and played video games all the time. That might be relatable for you. Maybe you shelter in and do other things, right? And what I learned is by giving myself this kind of therapeutic release, it actually helped that aggression, it helped the anger, it helped depression, all of these things that I was, anxiety, all of these things I was struggling with, I noticed would just wither away, right? And they wouldn't go away, but it would be the first positive, I didn't know about meditation or anything back then, it was the first positive direction in terms of getting mental health and mental clarity in check. So, stayed pretty consistent with the gym all the way through university. Loved working out in college, even after university. Just one of those things that I look forward to going to the gym. You get to a point where the first 90 days, it's going to feel like a struggle if you don't work out. It's going to feel like you hate it, it's like any new habit. It's just you don't have that muscle memory yet, but after I know a lot of people who end up falling in love with the process, and they just take it to the extreme. Maybe they had a weight issue, and then they just go and they get down to 7% body fat, and they stay like that all year, and they kind of obsess over it. And people might say that's unhealthy and stuff, but what is unhealthy? Choosing to go back. Sometimes it's not sustainable, and I see that they do go back and then put on a bunch of weight after. But I'd rather have somebody on the extreme of the healthy side than on the lack of extreme and letting life kind of slip you by. So with that being said, you'll eventually fall in love with the process. So things that I did early on is, if you are struggling mentally, right, if you're struggling with emotions, all these things, you have to get comfortable being under pressure, right? And that might be 2 dumbbells weighing 30, 40, 60, 80, 100 pounds, literal pressure on top of you. But when you can literally push that up off of you, re-rack the rate, there's a metaphor for life there where you are literally accomplishing something, right? And especially if you're not used to, if you don't have a lot of wins, you don't have a lot of accomplishments, the gym is something that you can get that constant feeling of success daily, right? Oh, maybe work didn't go that very good, maybe my relationships are falling apart, but at least I know at the gym, I have this consistency of taking care of myself, my mind, and my body, that everything else can fall in line after that. So one of the things early on that really helped me, working out with a buddy, finding somebody who knew more about this space than I did, getting their help. Then we get to review technique together, we get to spot each other, and it makes it more fun, right? When you see your buddy throwing up a personal best, you can't help but be competitive enough to be like, yo, now I gotta push myself, right? And then you think you don't have any more reps in you, and then he's like, yo, 3 more, and you're like, there's no way I'm gonna get 3, and somehow you get the extra 3, and maybe the last 2.5, you're like really getting support, and maybe he's doing more of the lifting, who knows. So lifting out with a buddy, finding somebody you can commit to going a certain amount of time with, and then the fun part of like researching supplements, we went way overboard. I was spending money I didn't have in high school on supplements, right? Making $300 bodybuilding.com supplement orders, all this crazy stuff. I don't take a fraction of it anymore. Getting like the massive, super unhealthy, cheap weight gainer, trying to put on like 1,200 calories with 4 scoops of that stuff. Oh man, I used to have the worst bowel movements because of that stuff. But I wouldn't change it for a thing. That helped me lay the foundation of where I'm at today. Where I would also offer advice, if I could go back, is there's this guy out in the internet space, really famous YouTuber. His name is Ben Patrick. He has this program called the Knees Over Toes program. I'm not affiliated with this at all, but I've got like 5 of my friends to sign up on this program. I was dealing with an ankle injury. I have mobility issues, right? This stuff is the foundation of, this should almost be prioritized over the weight training. But if you're trying to get bigger, then obviously focus on the weights, but don't neglect stretching. I went like 8 years, 7 years without stretching, maybe even like 9 years without prioritizing it, and mobility movement. And mobility is going to help with your posture. It's actually a form of strengthening your joints and tendons, so it actually is a form of strength training. But don't underestimate this, guys. The idea is to be like The Rock, right? Longevity, long game. We don't want to be, if you look at guys like Ronnie Coleman right now, I don't know anything about his mobility stuff, but the guy is, he's in a wheelchair, back issues, pain all the time. We don't want that. To avoid that, we avoid ego lifting, and we prioritize mobility, massage therapy. I have a massage gun right over here that I'll use sometimes, using a foam roller, literally taking care and nurturing the body. So you got the fire of the heavy muscle building movements, and then you also have the yin, so to speak, like the yoga, the stretching, the softness, nurture the body. You can't just be I was a warrior in that archetype for like 6 years. I still have like a lot of that warrior energy, but you need to have like the lover energy of nurturing your body so that you can actually do this for the long haul. So hope that was insightful for you. That's a little bit of a background of how you can maintain consistency. You just kind of set your life up around this habit. I normally work out with my brother now, so we spot each other, makes it a lot more enjoyable. We go to the gym together, we train. And if you don't have a brother, or you must have somebody you can work out with, sign up at the gym, find somebody, start making a connection, and you can actually make really good relationships with people at the gym. And then you can be like, hey, would you mind, you want to work out together sometime, you want to hang out, have a protein shake, get all the bro lingo. Fine, just go to the gym first, then you can actually practice the social skills of making new friends, and find somebody similar weight class, somebody that's a little bit bigger than you, ideally, so you can learn. And just see if they'd be open to training together and see where that relationship goes. So with that being said, get out there, crush your workout today, sign up for that gym. You got this. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.